Okay, so having said that, let's get started the main part of this seminar. And Exploratory seminar number 24, I'd like to introduce Exploratory version 5.5. Okay, so the many new features and enhancements and bug fixes, but mainly I like to talk about the new features and enhancements in this 4 area: data wrangling, visualization, analytics, and communication. Okay, so let's start with data wrangling. So data wrangling, I like to talk about these 4 things. One, tokenizing text. The second is a text data wrangling. And then the third, enhancements in the summarize and pivot UI. And then the last is floating dialogue. The first one, the tokenizing the text. So we have updated the stop words dictionary. So typically, like you get the data like this. This is the tweets. I created from the Twitter, and then you want to do, sometimes you want to see like what words being used frequently than the others. So for example, this is actually I created as a data science as a keyword in the Twitter, and then this is tweets. So you can go from the column header menu, and then like you select text data wrangling bracket UI. This menu is new in version 5.5. And under that, as you can see, a tokenized text. And then the first one is the space between words. So most of the languages like English or French usually have the space. So you want to select this one. This one is much better performance and scale and all that stuff. The second one, it says no space between words. Those are for like Japanese or Chinese languages, which don't have space between the words. So you can use that. But the performance is not as great as the first one. So as long as like you're dealing with the sentences with the space, with a language with the space, you wanna use the first one. Anyway, so you get the UI, and then all you need to do is just basically a quick run button. And then you get all those like word by word. Each word becomes each row. So, you know, sometimes like you have like 1,000 rows, and then that becomes, let's say, like 10,000 rows or 50,000 rows. It depends how many words are in one sentence. So then you can visualize by using the chart called word cloud. And then all you need to do is you just assign a token column to word, and then you get this one. Then here's the problem. Like you see at the center, these are basically the more frequent words that becomes the bigger the size of the text, and also the color is kind of start from the bigger size to the lower size, smaller frequency. Here, what you see is the HTTPS and t.co. T.co means twitter.com, and the shortened version. And then like next is like da and to. So these are the words we call it stop words. So it's like it's the words that like don't really mean anything by itself, but like it's being but also it often used in any text, any sentences. So it's usually like those are not the kind of things we want to know. Like we want to see, for example, in this case, is Python or maybe machine learning or big data. Those are the keywords like you often use in the data science tweets. So those are the things we want to know. So we want to get rid of this kind of often commonly used word. So then there's a parameter in the tokenized text UI. You can select English. We are actually releasing the newer version, patch like 5.5.2, probably within a couple of days. In that, it's a slight change in this parameter. It's going to say like use stop words, yes or no. And then once you said yes, then you can select the language. But anyway, once you select the language here, then all those words like da, you kind of stuff, also like a t.co or HTTP, those types of words can get rid of. So we updated this like a stop words dictionary to something called tidy stop word out package. So that has way better dictionaries than the one that we used to be using. So I highly recommend you should check that out. Also, I have shown that demo example of removing the stop words in the tokenized UI, but you can actually use a filter to get rid of the stop words as well. So you access filter from column header menu, and then you want to select the operator is not stop word. And then like, you can select the language. And also, I'll show you a little bit later, but there's a lot of languages that are now supported here. So not just English, or Spanish or French, Japanese, or like many languages, Vietnamese. So that's pretty cool. Okay, so that's a tokenizing text update. And the next topic is the text data wrangling. This is my favorite for like version 5.5. So I have to say, like most of the time, like when you're dealing with the data, like you have to spend a lot of time data wrangling. But the main part of the data wrangling, or is a tedious part of the data wrangling, is this text wrangling. It's similar words, similar text, but somehow like you have to clean up to make them kind of together, type of things. But anyway, so these are the things you could do before by using the functions like str_replace, str_remove, and so on. But if you are not familiar with those functions, you kind of get confused where to start. And another problem is that like most often, like you have to use some sort of like a regular expression. For example, this word starts, like you want to get rid of this particular letters, but you want to make sure those letters are showing up only at the end or like at the beginning. And then if that shows up in a different place that you don't want to get rid of or something like that. Anyway, so most of like we get many questions from our customers and users about something that needs to use a regular expression. So we created a UI, and then so therefore like you don't really have to know the regular expression to start with. And then gradually you can start learn. So we basically have this, for example, UI. This is like removing some words, right? So what you need to do is type like what word you want to remove from the data. And then like you see like a position or ignore case. So like, this word should be at the beginning or should be at the end or anywhere and so on. You can select that. And then the right-hand side, like you see a preview pane, and you see the original value, whatever the value, the match with the left side condition, then it gets highlighted. And then also we have a bunch of other options. I'm going to give you a demo after this, but you can select, for example, type multiple candidates. So in this case, group and a corp, and then like whatever the text matching with either of them, and then it gets rid of. So that's pretty cool. And then another thing I think is really cool is that you see the left-hand side bottom, you see some kind of an example. So that's actually the function gets really executed. So if you want to extend or customize, all you need to do is you just copy and then create calculation and create calculation step or mutate step, and then just paste this function. Then you can even customize it. So that's I think it's pretty convenient. And then not just removing, but also you can replace word to something else, or you can extract. This extract is pretty cool because sometimes if you want to get extract just first showing up word or the second or third, or you might want to extract the words that is surrounded by bracket, or you want to extract only the numeric or alphabet characters or something like that. So this is pretty powerful operation. And also we have, this is a separate UI, but you can go from the same column header menu, and it's called convert. And this convert is a typical, very simple cases like, converting to the uppercase, lowercase, or title case. And this actually can be very important because like many cases, like the similar name registered different when you visualize a bar chart or something, but it turned out those are the same, and only the difference is the cases, the lowercase or uppercase kind of stuff. So This is very useful, but also the converting is not about just the cases, but also let's say the country name, right? So like you want to convert from country name to, let's say, like ISO 2 characters, or vice versa, ISO 2 characters, let's say US to United States, or you want to actually get the continent or region information from the country name. So you can select a country for the conversion type. And if you get the IP address, you can get the country name. So that's also the part of the convert text UI. Okay, and then the third is enhancements in summarize the pivot UI. So in Exploratory, you can actually create a pivot table under the chart view, and most of the time, like that's good enough. But sometimes you want to transform the data in a summarized format, so that you can actually give that summarized data to, let's say, like machine learning algorithm or something like that. So anyway, so you can create summarize a pivot step to create the data. And in that UI, you can sort of like organize or reorder the columns within a group by or within a value. So it becomes more time saving. And then also you can change the column name. So like this is for just a value, but let's say like you want to change that order date to first date or something like that. You don't have to create a rename step. Instead, you can rename the column, newly created column directly inside the summarized UI. Okay, and the last for the data wrangling is a floating dialog. This is if you have been using Exploratory for a long time, I'm pretty sure like you had some occasions you get irritated or frustrated because when you open a dialog, sometimes you want to see the behind the dialog, especially in the table view, like you want to see like what values are in there. And then, but you couldn't. So now finally you can move or like drag and drop, grab the header, like top part of the dialog, and you can move the dialog anywhere you want. Okay, good. And that's it for data wrangling. And then let's move on to the chart or data visualization part. And there are 5 things I like to talk about. And first one is actually, just hold on a second. Let me just go quickly on the demo side of things. So here, I have like a data. Let me actually jump into here. Okay. Here's the Unicorn data. Unicorn is the startup company, is private and valued greater than $1 billion. And you can get this information from like this website by scraping the web. But anyway, so I have that, let's say like I've got this type of data. So now like you can see each, wait a second here. Okay, that's good. And then let's get rid of this empty row. So like you can, I have already removed that. Okay, here, good. Here's a company, let's say that Tuotiao, I think this is a company makes a TikTok or something like that. But anyway, so 4 entries, right? Like 4 different investors. Then like so basically like this column has all the investor or venture capital and who invested in these unicorn companies. And then like if I want to sort of visualize this data, and then like what I do is, let's say like I want to see like a bar chart, and then like who, which investors are investing the more. So for example here, well this is I think it's too much, so I'm going to use limit and then top. Let's say focus on top 30, and then I don't need this like a frequency thing, so I'm going to just get rid of this. Okay. And then here, so basically I'm looking at the top 30 venture capitals or investors who invested in unicorn companies. Okay. And then now here, like you can see like SoftBank group. So this one has like a 17. And then now like I want to see, so basically that's comparing based on the numbers. But also I know that here, if I use the pivot table and then by the investors, And then if I scroll down, there are like SoftBank group, soft B as a capital group, and then SoftBank, what is this? Group or something like that. So there are few entries, and I believe these are supposed to be the same thing. So now here's the problem. So we want to make sure this is frequency 100, which is, we don't need it. We want to show all of them, not just 100. And then let's see here. Ooh, there are many investors. Okay. OPQRS. Okay, here I go. SoftBank. And there's another one, the SoftBank Corp. So I think these are basically the same thing. And then what I like to do is I like to combine these things and by cleaning up the text. And that's what I want to do. And then what you can do is, what we can do here is select the column head, that menu, and it is a text wrangling UI. And then let's get rid of this group thing or corp thing. And then so that you can select this remove, and then this open the new text wrangling UI. And then, like for example, like I can just type like a group or something like that. And I type like all in a lowercase, but here is the ignore case is yes, so therefore it's still matching. If you want to make sure like only the particular respecting the lowercase or uppercase, you can actually click on this one to ignore as well. But let's go with like a ignore case. And then that looks good. And then, but I also want to get rid of this like a corp two together. And in that case, I can actually text multiple candidates, and then group and corp. And then I can click on preview, and I can see those can be deleted. So that looks good. And then click run button. And then when I go here, and then hope that's SoftBank. Okay, here, SoftBank group. And there is something weird. Oh, I'm not seeing the result. That's because I'm pinned step. Pin is step. It's pinned to this filter step, which is before this text data wrangling. So what I want to do is I want to move this, either drag and drop, or just click. If you click and the pin gets removed, and then I can just pin as well. But anyway, so now at this point, I'm seeing basically that should be the result of the text wrangling I just did. And so therefore, here SoftBank, like I don't see like a group or corp kind of stuff. And there's some problem here is that like there's some kind of a space in there. So that's why like this SoftBank are different. And also the uppercase, lowercase thing. And then like what I can do is couple things here. Let's say text wrangling UI, and then remove. And then like you can remove the space. And typically this like leading space and trailing space helps. So like let's get rid of it. And also let's do uppercase and lowercase. So here convert. And then you can do like an uppercase, but I want to do like a title case. And then to make sure all the SoftBank, for example, in this case, this SoftBank, like this B is a capital, but I want to make sure like the title case, so like B is now in the lowercase here. And then this convert, like not just lowercase or uppercase stuff, but also like I showed you in the slides, you can do like a country conversion, IP address conversion. If you want to anonymize the data, then you can actually select this anonymize as well. Okay, so if I run it, and then like it gets much cleaner. And then at this point, for example, like if I go to the chart, the first bar chart, and I have to be careful because if I go to the bar chart is still looking at the step before this text wrangling. So I'm gonna move this pin step to text data wrangling step. And then now it turned out when it comes to number of unicorns, the SoftBank is the number one. So this stuff, this text wrangling stuff is very important when you're trying to visualize or analyze the data. And so therefore, like, we wanted to make that experience as easy as possible. So we created this like remove, extract, replace UI, and also convert UI. So hope you're gonna like it. Okay, so let's get back to the slides, and then I'd like to talk about some of the enhancements and new features for chart. So edit display name, enhancements for pivot table, custom calculation, histogram, and then last not least, horizontal bar, error bar, horizontal bar chart and error bar chart. Okay, so edit display name. So this is actually, the concept of this is not new. Like, we introduced this in the 5.4 to edit the display name for color. But in this release 5.5, we extended it to x-axis and also repeat by. So for example, when you create a bar chart, and this one is like the bar second from the right says the research director. If I want to change the label, you can actually do that by creating a data wrangling step as part of the data wrangling. But sometimes you want to do just inside the chart. Then you select the edit display name for the x-axis, and then type whatever the name like you like to type, and then the label gets updated. So that's convenient. Sometimes like you want to change only for the particular chart, but if you want to change it at the data level, I'd recommend you to do that from the column header menu with the table view, and then change that name so that like you don't have to go one by every single chart to do the same thing. So, but anyway. So now, another cool thing of this edit display name is not just replacing one by one, but also let's say like, hey, you know what? Like, I want to do like this research scientist also to be an R&D group or something. Then I just give the same name for the research director and the research scientist. Then they will be combined as R&D like this. So you can use that that way as well. And not just x-axis, but also you can use for the color, but also we support repeat by as well. So, repeat by is like you want to use it to create the charts, multiple charts for each group that of the column set to repeat by. Then in this case, I'm going to just give the different names. And then now, like you see that each chart has a different name. So, and then the next one, the second is the enhancement for pivot table. This is very similar to what I have just talked about for summarize pivot data wrangling step UI. This is the pivot table under the chart view. And then there as well, like you can drag and drop to change the order of the columns for the value or rows. Okay, and custom calculation. So this custom calculation, we introduced this in version 5.4 for pivot table, but we have extended to all other charts as well. So even the bar chart, let's say like, hey, like I have this like monthly income shown for the y-axis, and I just want to divide by 1,000 or something. And then all you need to do is change that to custom. And inside the custom, you can construct the calculation. Be careful though, here, if you type just monthly income, you get error because this particular chart, this bar chart is basically summarizing the data. So you have to say, you want to do the mean for the average, or like you want to use a sum function for the total, or median for median. So you have to use the function, the summarizing or aggregation function. And then in this case, I want to divide by 1,000, so to divide by 1,000. And then you get the updated value shown for the y-axis. This one is very simple, but this becomes so powerful when you start getting into something like this. This is called predicate. So sometimes, let's say like, hey, you know what, like I have this data and all different people, but employees, I want to focus on only the age is less than 30 years old. And then like, I want to show the average of the monthly income for those who are less than 30 years old. And you can actually use this like a square bracket to have that condition. And then that means whatever the matching condition rows get passed to like this monthly income, and then like you get that mean of monthly income for only for those. And then this gets even more interesting. Let's say, imagine like this is like Y1, but you can also create Y2, the second under the Y-axis. And then you can do like a greater than 30 years old. Then you can see like a compare like one by, side by side. So anyway, so this custom calculation stuff can be very powerful. And so if you have any questions for, I want to do something like this, just let me know. Often it's actually, there's always some way to do it. Okay. The next one is histogram. So this one is you create a histogram, and sometimes you want to know the cumulative sum starting from the left-hand side to the right side. So that sometimes you want to know, like at the age, this is like x-axis age, right, and the distribution of the age. Distribution of the employee by age. And then if you want to know, like by the age of 40, like how many people in this particular job role on the organization. And then if you can select this like show cumulative sum, this is like a reference line. And then like the default, the cumulative sum, and then like that line is going to show up. Then like you can know, like for example, 40 years old, like this, for example, the first chart, healthcare representative, there are about 10 people in this group. But sometimes you also want to know, actually this like reference line is the axis at the right side of the chart. So in that case, 40 years old is, I think it's about like 80 or 90 people. But sometimes you want to know is a ratio, cumulative sum. Let's say like 80% of the people are at the particular bucket. In that case, you can change the type to cumulative sum ratio. And then you see, for example, healthcare representative, like a 40 years old is about like 50%, where, for example, other like managers, I think it's 40 years old is still like 20% of the employee in manager. So you can compare based on the cumulative sum ratio. This is pretty cool. Okay, and the last, not least, for the chart is a horizontal bar. And it sounds simple, but somehow this was not supported before. You could do the horizontal chart, but the moment you use a repeat by, it couldn't do it. So it defaults back to the vertical. And I'm sure if you have been a user of Exploratory for a long time, you got frustrated by this. But finally, we figured it out the way to do it and fixed it. So now you can use that horizontal chart, not just the one chart, but also the multiple charts by using the repeat by. And sometimes you want to show the y-axis level for each chart, but sometimes you don't want to show for each chart. So you can control it from the layer setting of the repeat by, and it said always show y-axis label. And when you do, sometimes that label gets kind of like get crowded and sometimes overlap on the other charts. So you want to type like some of the padding size, like 100 or 40 or whatever the numbers to adjust so that you have enough space between the charts for the text label. And also from the chart property, the gear icon at the top of the chart, and then when you click it, you can show the values on plot. And then this also didn't work when you use the repeat by, but now it works. So that's pretty cool. And not just bar chart, but also the error bar supports horizontal direction as well, and with both marker of bar and then the circle both ways. Okay, so that's the chart. And the next one is analytics. So I want to talk about these four things. Extracting the date time information as predictors. This is for like machine learning and statistical modeling. And then the next one is the categorize and numeric. That's also the same. And then the third one, the time series forecasting is profit. We introduced this thing called variable importance. I want to show in a demo. And then the last one is effects by variables. We introduced drop-down control. So let's go one by one. So extract date. So this is actually pretty cool. When you select, let's say like you're building a linear regression model, random forest or whatever. And then if you select the date or project CT, which is a date and time columns or variable, and then you can click on this edit button in the configure column section. And this will open this configure UI. And then you can select which component you want to actually extract and then present as an independent variable. Independent variable is kind of a confusing name, so I shouldn't use that word. But as a separate variables. So in this case, for example, I see like year and month and day of week. And let's say like, from the order date, this is like a sales data. And then I selected the order date. But I want to see like if the January, February, March, those type of like months information might make difference in terms of like how many orders we get. Or Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday type of information might make a difference in terms of the number of orders we get. Or I think this is return data affect any number of the returns. So I can check or uncheck by selecting whatever the things we need, I want to use. And then click OK, and that becomes the predictor variables. So that's very powerful. So next one is a categorizing numeric. So basically this categorizing numeric has been there for chart. And what we did with the 5.5, we extended that to analytics. So let's start looking at what categorizing numeric first. So categorizing numeric, or some folks call it binning, is let's say that you assign age as a numeric values by using bar chart. And then like each bar is basically showing each year of the age. But sometimes you want to create the category, make this one category, or you want to create a bins. What that means is, for example, when you select a category as category, today's like when you use Exploratory and try to create a chart, and by assigning numeric variable or a column to x-axis, it automatically assigns to the category. But you can actually switch between numeric and category. Anyway, so you select the category, and then this will create 5 equal width buckets. So from 18 to 26 years old, and 26 to 34, and so on. Right. And then you can customize it, for example, not just equal width, or you want to do like equal frequency, or you want to do sort of like a manual, like you want to say like 20, 30, 40, you want to actually type, whatever the numbers you like, and you can customize those things. And then not just the x-axis, this actually works for the color and also repeat by. Sorry, I think this UI is Japanese, but you can do like a color and repeat by as well. Okay, so now this capability has been extended to analytics. So what that means, let's say like you want to create a random forest and see like a variable importance. And then in that case, you can assign numerical variable to repeat by, and then this will create, in this case, default is 5. So to create 5 age groups, and then separate the data, right? Create sort of a partition of the data. And then now each partition of that data, it builds a random forest model. And then gives you this like variable importance for each age bucket. So like the first one, the variable importance chart for age 18 to 26 years old, 26.4 years old, and so on. And then also, this is not just a random forest, linear regression, all the analytics, wherever it makes sense. And then let's say like this is a survival cog under the survival analysis. And then this is basically the line chart is showing the survival rate. And then this is, think of it as like a kind of a retention rate when you have a subscription business like us. And then like how, like what's the percentage of the customers are still there and then, or gone. And you can see from by looking at this chart. But anyway, so you can assign a numerical value column to color by, and then the color by basically splits the data into 5. And then like now you see the survival curve or retention line for each age bucket. And not just color by, you can also use a repeat by. You can assign numerical column to repeat by. In this case, I set like monthly spending of the customers, how much money each customer spend. And I created 5, basically this is creating 5 different sort of segments based on the monthly spending. And you are creating another segment inside each monthly spending segment, and then for a different age bucket. So I can compare, how the survival curve by the age bucket and in each monthly spending bucket. So that if you use this type of the chart, and this is pretty cool. And this, again, not just particular analytics, but this can be done for like profit and time series forecasting profit, and then other analytics type as well. Okay. And then the third, time series forecasting with profit. So here, like you can set like order date for this. Imagine this is sales data, your customer sales data, and then like you see the sales trending by using a line chart, right? So that's that blue line. And then like when you use this like a time series forecasting with profit, the profit algorithm to take the patterns and then create a forecasting model, and then the forecast. And then, so the orange line is the forecasting line. And then those like orange band is kind of like the area range is the uncertain range, basically close to confidence interval. Anyway, so when you have this, and then you can actually do is you can assign extra columns as external predictors. What that means is, let's say like sometimes you want to know maybe other variables might be correlated with the variable that you're interested in. In this case, I want to see like I want to forecast the sales, but maybe if the sales compensation is highly correlated with sales, then maybe I can control the sales compensation to get certain result of the sales down the road in the next 3 months or something. Or marketing is the ones more correlated with sales, then I can control. But I want to see if the marketing is correlated or sales compensation is correlated. You can actually see those correlation by using the correlation by columns under the analytics view, or you can use a linear regression. But this is we are talking about along the time axis or time series. So including the time series, and then still the sales comp and sales are correlated. That's really the question here. And then you can assign those columns as external predictors. And this typically improves the quality of the forecasting model compared to, for example, here, this one is like you see like orange line and blue lines are not exactly matching. But when you start adding those, if you had the correlated variables, and typically it started matching with the actual values. And then now when that happens though, like what you want to know is first, how those variables and the external predictors, and also the profit detects the seasonality in the data, that's such as like yearly seasonality. This one, or monthly seasonality and so on. And then also it detects a trend, like overall trend is like a linear trend, or sometimes exponential trend or whatever. And then profit is additive model. So like adding the trend and the yearly seasonality, and if you have a weekly seasonality and so on, like it adds, and also like in this case, external predictor effect. And then you combine all of them, that becomes this gray line, which is a forecasted, which is a line of forecasted values. So you can see how each variable, each components, if you will, or the variables or seasonality are having an effect on the forecasted values. So that's the cool visualization to it. But also this one, and when you go to the, this is again a Japanese UI, sorry about that. But if you go here, it says importance. And then when you go to importance, then you can see basically the variable importance. And typically you see this kind of variable importance under the random forest or linear regression, but now you can see this even under the time series forecasting. And in this case, just focus on the chart part, then you see the sales comp is the number one. This like a left-hand side importance values. These are supposed to be the coefficient, but doesn't really mean anything in practical manner. So it's more to do with kind of how to compare among these variables. And it's obvious that sales comp has the highest sort of like effect in terms of sales values. So, you know, like in this case, basically, like we can say, we can control the sales comp to, for example, like improve the sales or, you know, decrease the sales and whatever that way. And then there's the yearly, and then the marketing and discount is the lowest. So that means probably discount is not really correlating in terms of sales in this particular data. So that type of insights you can gain from this view. Okay, so the next one is effects by variables. And so this one is like, you know, you go to the random forest or any modeling. So like, let's say decision tree or linear regression. And then like, there's a tab called effects by variables, which is basically showing that this blue line is a predicted values or predicted line, if you will. And then based on the x-axis value. So for example, take a look at this education, which is the second at the top. And then if the education value change from 1 to 2, 2 to 3, and 3 to 4, and how that predicted value would change. So that's what we are seeing here. And then, so this view is pretty important, pretty cool. If you want to know more about it, I have done an online seminar before for random forest or linear regression or statistic regression. And so you might want to check that out for more details. But anyway, so what we did for the 5.5, we added this thing called group dropdown. So when you have the repeat by, in this case, a job role, then you can see one by one and how those variables and predictors are impacting in terms of predictions. And then same thing, we have added this number of columns. You can change this this number of columns to like how many charts you want to show in each row. So in this case, 4 right now, 4 charts, and then like the 5th chart goes to the next line, right? So you could change this by clicking on the chart icon on the right side top, and then you see the chart property, and then from there you can change it. But we wanted to make it much easier to manipulate this thing. So we expose this number of columns and also fit in view area property here. Okay, so that's the chart analytics. And then next one is a dashboard. I wanted to do some quick demo for the time series forecast, but obviously we are running out of time. But next week, I'm going to do a time series forecast with profit. I have done that before, like a year ago probably, but since then we have updated a lot. So I'm going to do that. So if you're interested in time series forecasting, please join me next week at the same time. Anyway, so the dashboard, I want to talk about 3 things. So first is a long dashboard. So you can create this kind of dashboard. So before, it's always a kind of one page. So if you put like a bunch of charts, all the charts get kind of cramped together. But now there's another mode called long dashboard. So then you can kind of stack one on top of each other. And then all you need to do is this thing called fit to screen. You just uncheck it. Then you just add a bunch of charts and after underneath. Then these 2 things is pretty cool for the dashboard. Now you can add this thing called text box. And then so instead of clicking on the chart, this insert the chart, you can now click on this text icon, and this will create this kind of text box. And then there, like, you can type anything. For example, like maybe like you might want to make some comments about this dashboard we are looking at, and then you can use a Markdown to format that text. And by using a Markdown, like you can say, like you can create like a header, like H1, H2. You can make certain text to be bold or italic. You can create a URL link. You can create bullet points, and also you can insert the image as well. So that's pretty cool. This is basically the same thing like you do with a note when you create a note. So the same capability is being exposed here. That means this is actually not just the regular Markdown. This is an R Markdown, if you're familiar with R. So R Markdown is kind of combined R and Markdown. So that means in the text, not just the Markdown text, but also you can write R script. And that means you can create custom visualization and with the data that you have in the same project. So this is some of the demo. I'm going to expose this script. I'll publish this script later. But you can create a Sankey chart or network code. And it doesn't have to be this kind of fancy chart. But even, ggplot2, that's like the #1 most popular and most practically useful chart library. You can use that to customize the charts the way you like. And then, but all the data is in the same project. So so that's pretty cool. Okay, and then now pretty much over, but there's one more thing. This is kind of small thing, but it could be useful, which is thumbnail images. So now even the pivot table or table, we take the thumbnail image. So therefore, when you mouse over on the data frame name on the left-hand side, and you can see the thumbnail images for those as well. So before it was only chart, but now all of them get thumbnail images. And not just pivot table, but also the dashboard too. So like when you mouse over, you can see which dashboard you're looking at. So like there's a thumbnail image for that. And that means when you publish the dashboard or pivot table to Exploratory.io or Exploratory collaboration server, which is the same thing as Exploratory.io, except you can install on your server. When you publish, then this thumbnail image will be shown next to the name of the dashboard or the name of the chart. So it makes it easier to find what you're looking for. Okay, that's it. Those are the new features of 5.5. And with that, I want to open the Q&A session.